Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Certified Forgotten. We are your horror podcast that talks about films with 10 or fewer reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, except for when we don't. If you've been listening to us for a while, then you know we alternate. Sometimes we do stints of one or the other, but we typically either have an amazing guest and talk about a horror film for an hour, or you get just myself and Matt Donato talking about a new release and letting you know, hey, is it worth your time and energy? Is it worth your stream? Are we going to fight about it? Are we going to agree about it? It's always nice, as much as we love having guests, to just sit down with you, Matthew, and hash it out a little bit over movies that we don't always agree on. But I feel like we're on a pretty good stretch. We've had a couple of good uncertified episodes where you and I were mostly on the same page about things.
Yes, and even on the same page about Oz Perkins and titles and comedies that usually would not be, I don't know, shared between us. Let's say, I'm the horror comedy guy, and we've said this so many times. So I don't know. We have been on a kind of legendary run that might continue, might not. I did not read your review yet because I wanted to have this conversation fresh. I kind of wanted to take this as it goes. But yeah, also to say we will definitely have more guest episodes in the future. I will take the brunt of saying I'm dealing with some life stuff right now. So we're going to kind of take it easy for me. Monocle graciously is going to help me through this. And once I get some more time back in my life, it's going to be more guest episodes. So yeah, just keep with us as we do these. Because yeah, I like doing these too. I don't know. These became a, hey, come for the uncertified and stay for the guests. But I just get to talk movies with Monocle. What do you mean?
Yeah, we initially introduced these, I think a year ago, 2 years ago, because we were like, hey, we want to have some actual traffic into our podcast, some things that people are actually searching for, and then we both remembered we just like talking about movies with each other. So, South Korean finger hearts, whatever we're doing, it's a mutual admiration society going into the top of this episode, which is good because today's episode is about a very, very fucking mean movie, and we're going to need some of that positive energy. It is Primate, which is now playing in theaters everywhere, or most of everywhere, I suppose. If you are a Regal Unlimited member like I am, you have seen the bumper for Primate play above any movie, regardless of genre. Avatar, kids' movies, doesn't matter. They're given like a 10-second promo for Primate. So it's been a weird and wild advertising campaign for this one. Most of the folks that I know had a chance to see it last year at a film festivals. If you're sitting down to watch it now for the first time, let's go ahead and give you just a really, really quick plot synopsis. After the death of her mother, it takes Lucy a full year to gather the courage to head back home. She's missed by those she left behind: her father, her sister, and Ben, the chimpanzee that her mother raised from a young age. But when Ben gets bitten by a rabies-infected mongoose, grief will have to wait. Now Lucy and her childhood friend are trapped in a dangerous game of cat and mouse, or monkey and man, with Ben, who had developed a literal and figurative taste for blood. Primate, the new film from horror filmmaker Johannes Roberts, is a cross between a creature feature and a slasher with style to spare. Donato, you saw this at Fantastic Fest in 2025. Am I remembering that correctly?
You are remembering that correctly. This was opening night of Fantastic Fest, and I believe it set the right tone. Not everyone loved Primate, and I will say I enjoyed it greatly. But it's a bare bones creature feature, and it is absolutely just Cujo with a monkey, or sorry, chimp. Let's keep it correct. But to me, it's Giannis Roberts being the secret weapon, because I have just loved what this guy has done with his Stranger sequel, with the 47 Meters movies, and I feel like he has a really good eye for horror. And when he takes something simple, he still does it well. Like he started his Q&A, or sorry, his introduction at the film with, I apologize for Resident Evil, but so he did Welcome to Raccoon City.
Yeah.
And
People like
so
that. I thought people liked that. Not like loved it, but liked it. It wasn't like Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Like it had its fans.
No. It wasn't Five Nights, but he still got plenty of hate for it, because when you make a Resident Evil movie, apparently, no matter what you do, you're wrong. If you're too games focused, you're wrong. If you're not games focused, anyway. So he apologized for it, but I say that anecdote because I liked Welcome to Raccoon City. Like, I just think Roberts is visually compelling as a filmmaker, and he knows how to kind of navigate the tropes of horror. And I think that Primate is a really good example, because what it's doing is not breaking any molds, but it's sure having a really fucking good time doing it.
He strikes me as sort of this decade's version of Ame Colette Serra, right on down to having like the shark movie in his oeuvre, correct? So that is, I was going back through his filmography and remembering like, oh, I've seen these films. I enjoy these films. You know, a gun for hire, right? Not somebody that's necessarily originating as many projects as others. He comes into franchises, he comes in and does other stuff. But Colette Serra is such a even a decade before, he reminds me of Brad Anderson, who I still seek out every film that Brad Anderson does, where you're just like, there's going to be something in this movie that makes the experience worthwhile for me. Some visual concept, some idea, some storytelling conceit. Even when I watched The Woman in the Yard, which everybody hated, and I was mostly okay on, there was stuff that happened in that movie because Colette Serra was the director that I was super into. So is it fair to say that Roberts is in that category now of like, maybe it's not all going to be good, but god damn it, it's going to be interesting?
Oh, I love that comparison because I am also a Colette Serra defender. I think he is has become one of the most dependable mid blockbuster directors in the sense that, I shouldn't even say mid blockbuster. He got some pretty goddamn big budgets, but that gun for hire nature, he's that name that would just get attached to a project that seemed kind of January releasey,
Mm,
but his name being attached to it, I immediately got excited because I'm like, you know what? Every time he takes a nonstop or something of that nature, I have a good time. I just think Colette Serra knows how to deliver popcorn entertainment in a way that no one else really does right now.
yeah,
And I very much think that that is Roberts for a horror genre. I will be there for whatever he does because I am confident that the base level for him is still entertainment. So I know I'm going to have a good time. And at least again, that's me. Like we all click with certain filmmakers, and
yeah,
I think this is a filmmaker that I especially click with and will forever, probably, if he just keeps doing these kind of movies.
yeah. I talk about this sometimes. I never know if this comparison goes over well to people that don't follow sports. But in scouting, there's the ideas of floors and ceilings, right? Like low floor means they could be terrible. High floor means they're at least going to be okay. Low ceiling means they're not, very low chance that they'll be great. High ceiling means they could be great. So a lot of high school prospects come up and they're low floor, high ceiling, which means they could be almost anything. They could be terrible. They could be great. I think of directors like this at the bare minimum of being high floor, which is that the chances that they're going to be bad are low. They may not be great. You may just watch something that's again a January, February release, but at least these are high floor prospects when it comes to the opportunity to maybe like it and have a good time with it. So if you if that landed for you, please let me know in the comments or on social media because I never know if that sports analogy hits. I have a mixed history with sports analogies here in Certified Forgotten. Those that go to Brooklyn Horror will know what I'm talking about. All of that being said, let's talk about Primate. So you watched it at Fantastic Fest. It set the right tone for the festival. I literally feel like I was maybe one of the last people I know to see this film. It's just been everywhere for the last 4 or 5 months or so. I have not read your review, which published to Daily Dead. So that's available there. We'll make sure we drop this in the episode post on the website. You liked it.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely liked it. I liked it. As I said before, it is Cujo. Everyone comparing it to Cujo is correct. It is mean, nasty animal killing anything that comes in its path. The rabies is of it all is called into question because some people are that's not how rabies works. I get it. The very simple nature and the way that characters stay in danger, sure. Some of it's not the most rich storytelling, but at the end of the day, this movie isn't even just Cujo. It's Halloween, but not Michael Myers and Ben. Like there are overt references to Halloween in this movie and the way
Yeah.
he becomes the shape that I fucking love. And it's also littered with Jurassic Park references. So like you get the right type of comparisons, like Roberts as a director and where he's drawing inspiration from. He's got all the right inspirations. 47 Meters Down Uncaged is a slasher movie in my opinion too. So like I already knew he can do animals as a slasher. This is very much structured like a slasher movie, and
Mm-hmm.
Ben's kills are fucking gruesome. Like there's
Yeah.
already a a jaw rip in this movie that I am confident will be mentioned if I get the chance to write my kill list for Fangoria next year. Like, we're off to such a great start with the primal, ferocious type of animal horror movie. And on top of that, sorry, all the effects work is also A plus with Ben. There we
Yeah.
have an actor under the skin, but also the digital, also the practical. It is a perfect blend of how you do them all. Oof, that's good. It's good work.
Yeah, it should come as no surprise to anybody that's heard me bitch about trauma informed cinema for the last 3 years, since the beginning of the goddamn podcast. I feel like that I had some real problems with the start of this film, not because of what they were doing, but because it became pretty clear pretty quickly that they were doing this whole family trauma storyline that they just did not give a shit about past like the 30-minute mark. And once I got over that, and once the film got over that, and I wrote in my review, actually, like the blessing of this movie for me is that it becomes abundantly clear about a third of the way in that they're not going to pay off any of the like the stuff with the mother, the stuff with Ben, like the fact that Ben is the one tie that the girls have to to their mother. It doesn't matter. None of that fucking matters. It's about jaw rips. It's about face peels. It's about monkey business. And that was the credit that I give Primate is that it does the practical effects, it does the motion performance. I don't not just motion capture because there's a lot of like actual costume and prosthetics that are in the film, but it does like the movement performance of Ben really really well. It did all of the stuff in the second half of the film so well that I was able to basically go, okay, I'm gonna forgive and forget all of these ham-fisted gestures towards trauma and family healing. I'm going to forgive the fact that you did the thing that I hate, which is you basically create a group of characters, give us no reason to dislike them, and then start killing them. Not that everybody needs to be bad people, but you need to establish some kind of reason for the things that are happening, even if there is no like definable thing. You're just like, look at all these heartfelt people that mean movie. And then it just becomes so much fun. It becomes so good at its set pieces and so deliciously violent that I kind of ended up in a place where I was like, I am enjoying this. This is a good time. This is exactly the monkey slasher that I hope that I signed up for. I saw this on Thursday night with a half full theater, and you better believe that this plays real fucking good to like the average moviegoer that shows up on an evening and wants to watch a killer monkey movie. So ultimately, I think it's exactly what's printed on the tin. It's very much what people are going to want to see. I don't know why they had to do a lot of the stuff they did in the beginning. It feels a little paint by numbers, character development, and horror in 2026. But if you can get past that, and the movie will give you 1,000 reasons to get past that, you're going to have a good time with this one.
Yeah, I want to call out Miguel Torres Umba, and
Mm-hmm.
that is the actor playing Ben, because Mongol is 100% right. Like, this is it's Planet of the Apes level. Like, there is the mocap to it all, but there is also the digital, there's the practical, there's a lot of stuff coming together to create Ben, but none of it's better than what Miguel is doing in so many scenes where he is bringing Ben's personality to life. Because there's a
Mm-hmm.
scene where I forget which character, but they encounter Ben from afar and they haven't been spotted yet. And they're watching Ben watch Dora the Explorer. And it's such a wonderfully acted scene. And again, I'm not talking about the human. I am talking about Miguel as Ben. And the mannerisms show everything about Ben feels like a character and not just a throwaway. And I mention that because there will be a review publishing next week from me about the movie Killer Whale. And I bring it up here because it is such a one-to-one comparison on how to make a creature feature by today's standards and how not to. Because Killer Whale goes right back to the same problems that shark cinema has been having recently, and independent shark cinema, I should say, where, well, you already know the formula. We know two girls are going to get stranded in Killer Whale and have to, find a way to escape. There's going to be some kills, there's going to be this and that. But what Killer Whale does, and what its fucking massive failure is, it's mostly digital. There is no practical, even the dorsal
Mm-hmm.
fin that comes above water. So you kill the visuals by just having it be awful green screens and no production value. And you limit the body count because you can't do what you want to do. Like, it's basically a movie about two girls stuck on a rock and the one or two people around them who died during that 90 fucking minute purgatory. So it's like, that's why I bring it up in comparison to Primate, because Primate just goes right for the kill. It
Yeah.
knows that, once again, those story complaints you have 100% correct, and it doesn't matter to me by the end of it, because you have
Yep.
done all the other stuff so right. Like, you have to balance it out. If you're gonna have a low, let's say, body count, then you're gonna have to pick it up with storytelling and pick it up with visuals. If you're not gonna do that, you better have good fucking kills. So I think Primate, where what it lacks in development of the narrative, it more than makes up with everywhere else.
And it's good because it didn't try and fix that. Like, I think that's the mistake that like, films should know their lane, right? Like, if you're a creature feature about a killer monkey, and if you're going to be the kind of movie where a monkey like puts a jawbone in front of his jaw and like pretends to talk, if that's the kind of movie you're trying to be, then you don't need to put a button on mom's death from a year ago. Like, you're not that guy. You don't need to do that kind of stuff. And I think that was, for however I feel about the setup and kind of how it's leaning into the same old A24 shit that I'm so tired of. Once it turns that corner, none of that ceases to matter. And that becomes, for me, a feature, not a bug. It's great that once they hit the gas, they just like don't even slow down. They crash the car into the wall at the bottom of the hill, right? Like, metaphorically speaking, like there is no slow pacing to it. It's just like tense monkey business for the rest of the movie. I think I'm going to cap myself at saying monkey business twice this episode. I don't think I get to say it again. Uh, but I like that. Like, that this movie knows what it's trying to be. It knows the lane that it occupies. It knows that it is a B movie with A movie execution and aesthetic and drive. And I think that's what makes it enjoyable. And one of the other things that I really noted, it's been a minute since you've seen it, so this might not stand out as much for you as it did for me, having watched it just a day ago. It's surprisingly Giallo infused, like from the opening credit music where they're doing kind of like the goblin-esque like whisper la 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 kind of stuff. They've got the Suspiria like block letter title credits. There's a lot of like red screen, and there's a lot of like cloths and covering that I associate with like Mario Bava and others. It's interesting because it's a slasher that is more influenced by the earliest days of the slasher genre than stuff that we've been doing like in the last 5 years. Like, it is, you mentioned Halloween, I mentioned Giallo. It is a slasher that is harkening back to 70s slashers, not 90s slashers, not 2000 slashers. And I think that's cool too. Like, it's nice to see somebody reach that far back for inspiration rather than just do another round of, whatever the most recent decade of slasher kills has been.
Yeah, and infusing all that is a testament to Roberts, because that is a filmmaker thinking about a movie higher than just, I don't know, getting it done.
Yeah.
If he's going to do all these things and doing them exactly how he said, and embrace the simplicity, style is so important. And by infusing the Giallo, by infusing these, again, direct call outs to Jurassic Park and Halloween and Cujo and down the list, like, there's so many fun little inspirations. It's just a filmmaker thinking on another level, and that's where I'm always going to be drawn back to what Roberts is doing. That's where I'm always going to be drawn back to, like, no matter how basic a plot sounds, I know it's going to have more going for it. So, like, that, you brought up the jaw scene specifically, and how Ben plays with the torn jaw of his victim. It just adds this menace that is, once again, you said mean. This movie is fucking mean.
Yes.
And I think we need that more and more, where I don't quote me on this, but I did hear that this script did not start as a monkey, and this script was a little different years ago, and Roberts was given the opportunity to kind of revamp it and get it made. So I think that could have, if that is true, if what I heard is true, then that could have gone towards the storytelling disconnect in places where they had something in place, they had to flip it real quick to get it made, and hey, fuck it, let's roll with it. But you can do that when, again, you make a movie like Primate and not something like Killer Whale or all these other awful When Animal Attack movies, where even Anaconda. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring up Anaconda, because how are you going to?
Go ahead, but like, why ever talk about Anaconda again?
Digital. It's this idea that, like, hey, people won't care about something
Yeah.
if we do the other part good enough. So the Anaconda reboot, I think the thought process was, well, hey, if it's funny enough, no one's going to care that it's all digital and there's really no practicality. When the opposite of that is fucking true, because if you give me the original Anaconda, that does have some pretty bad CG, but also really fun, rubbery effects where we have a real creature to look at, I will take that every fucking day. And I think it is just the large problem with creature feature storytelling in the modern era, because I keep saying creature feature, but like animal creature feature
Yeah.
specifically,
Yes.
because we know what these things should look like. We know what these things look like in real life. So if you can't replicate that and you give me some goddamn bullshit, like go read any of my shark horror movie reviews I've written the last 2 to 3 years for IGN Daily Dead, and it is just a overload of me saying the same thing over and over again. But like, don't make an animal horror movie if you can't even do a single practical effect. What are we doing? So sorry, it's my little rant, but like,
No, I hear you.
Primate is just such a good example of how to do it in a way that works. And like the template's right there, it's in front of us. And I know that this year alone, again, Killer Whale review hitting next week, like I know I'm gonna have to write 10 more reviews probably this year about shitty animal based horror movies that
Yep.
don't want to do the work to make a good one. And that's what gets me the most. We know how to do it right, and studios are just going to be like, or producers in indie capacities as well, are just going to be like, hey, we can push this out here, right? This is fine. No
Yeah.
one will care. No, we'll fucking care.
We do. We do. Well, apparently we don't, because Anaconda made like $200 million so far. But
God,
whatever.
I fucking hate that movie.
No accounting for taste. Worst movie of the year for me by a mile.
Oh no, it's not the worst of the year for me, but it's bad.
I don't make myself watch the types of movies you do. So like for my 150 movies I watched in 25 or whatever, that was the worst movie of the year.
It's the Rob Hunter rule of, if I read a worst of list and there's a studio movie on there, I don't take it serious.
That's correct. That's correct. Well, I want to pivot really quickly to talk about one other thing about the film, which is, for the newsletter that I wrote this past week, which you can sign up for at certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter. That's certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter. I talked a little bit about the moment when you're watching a movie and it does something that makes you kind of raise your estimation for it. It does something that demonstrates craft or style in a way that you think, okay, I need to give this movie a bit more credit throughout the rest of it, because it's got a level to its game that I didn't appreciate. And I think part of that happened in Primate for me. I mean, the first one was the first kill. I won't spoil anything there. That is a real moment of, oh, okay, not doing anything other than swinging for the fences here. But one of the things that I really enjoyed is the presence of Troy Kotsur as the father. And that introduces, there is, from a Hollywood standpoint, from a storytelling standpoint, if you cast a non-deft actor in that role, it changes nothing, right? Like you can do that whole movie on paper with just a dad who like leaves and then comes back, and et cetera. But rather than lean away from, by doing a bunch of different things with like assisted devices or whatever, they make the fact that Troy Kotsur and his character are deaf an integral part of the story. Both of the daughters speak in sign language. It's a natural connection between being able to communicate with Ben in sign language, and something the entire family shares in common. Even the friends that have been growing up around this family for their entire lives know some limited sign language and can talk in it. Late in the film, they do a couple of scenes where they strip music and strip all diegetic noise. When Kotsur is in the house by himself, we know that Ben is in there. He can't hear it. And so, it's just a wall of silence as stuff is happening in the background as he's moving around. It opened so many doors for this film. It created a level of interesting, both in terms of storytelling, but just visually and audio, like in terms of the audio, that it created new opportunities for the film to surprise. And I'm so glad, like I love Troy Kotsur across the board anyways. Like I just saw him in Black Rabbit, which is a really underrated Netflix show. It's very, very good. I think he was great in that. He's great in everything. But in this movie in particular, it's one of those decisions where you could have just gone and grabbed somebody, but you not only grabbed this actor, you built the character, you built the family dynamics, and you built some of your big final scenes around the fact that character and that actor are deaf. And your movie's like 800% more interesting because of it. If you do everything without him, he's just some guy that's like wandering. He's like, girls, where are you? Like, it is a very, very different and much better movie because you're playing to your actor and letting your actor dictate what happens in the world around them. Man, I love that. That was definitely a moment where I was like, okay, Primate, I wasn't familiar with your game. Let's do more of this.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cheat code for suspense, or sorry, added suspense, because
Yep.
Primate does fine building tension and kind of giving you the danger and raising the alarm. But the hearing impairment part of it too, where the sound goes out and things of that nature. And it's such a haunting scene to like not have the audio, but see the hunt and stalk be part of it still. Yeah, absolutely. That part of it. I was going to bring up Troy anyway, so that I'm glad you did.
Yep.
And it's once again a movie thinking ahead and a movie thinking of, well, how do we deliver familiarity and expectations, but also have our own little twist and also play with things in a way we want to. And using, it feels like it could be a crutch. It feels like it's something that could be cheap, but maybe in other hands it would have been too. Let's be honest.
Yep.
Not every filmmaker maybe would have handled it the same way, but I go right back to what I've been saying. And I'm sorry I'm being like a broken record here, but I think Roberts just understands how to work within constraints so much better than other horror directors. And, it never becomes a thing that's overused. It never becomes a thing that is a distraction, let's say. It's just an additive. Like the hearing impairment is just an additive to the horrors of what happens. And the idea that he does come in later in the film in a more prominent sense in the third act, like very smart. Because if that was a whole movie thing, there's a different, maybe there's a different take on that. But by holding it for the climax and having it be so important to everyone's survival, it's just good mapping. It's just good storytelling. So yeah, I am very much on the same boat as you. And it's, now we're going to see 10 more hearing impaired characters coming in in other movies that are going to be worse. Watch.
As long as they're better than was it Aha, the one about the blind guy in the walls? Which one was that? The dude from Avatar.
Oh, wait. Don't breathe.
Don't
Sorry.
breathe. Yeah. As long as
okay, you said Aha. No, it fucking Fede.
Fede Alvarez. As long as it is perhaps done with more sensitivity and authenticity than Don't Breathe. Not that Don't Breathe is a bad movie, but it's very much so exploitation. So
oh my god, yeah.
Not that Primate isn't, I suppose. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Primate is now available to watch in movie theaters everywhere. You should go see it. You should go see it, especially if you have something you have access to, where you're a Regal Unlimited member or an AMC A-list or whatever the name of it is. Like, this is the kind of movie that sets a great pace for January. And we have so many horror movies coming out in January, and not all of them look great, but my God, I feel more confident now knowing that I'm going to have stuff like this. If this is the floor for the rest of the month, I'm going to be thrilled. I'm still crossing my fingers that Return to Silent Hill is going to be good. I have some insider knowledge that suggests that it's not going to be, but I'm hoping that insider is wrong, is just wrong. But Primate in theaters right now. Donato, you're as always a busy little beaver, but your year is starting. You've got your first review coming up pretty quickly. You just finished with the Critics' Choice Awards, which means I think you've got a little bit more time to watch stuff for the year ahead rather than just catching up on the year behind. How do folks stay connected with you online?
As always, that is Donato Bomb, DONATOBOMB. And you can see me post about the things that I write. I got Sundance coming up, so plenty to be writing about at Sundance. God, that's a week and a half away. That's crazy.
Oh my God.
And you can read other things like my first article of the year was a recap on Uwe Boll's Blood Rain trilogy, because hey, that's what you all want to read about, right? So yeah, if you want to read my insight about how the fuck a terrible movie like Blood Rain spawned a trilogy, and it's definitely German tax incentives, yeah, that's the kind of stuff you can expect from me.
Shout out to HT. Nobody does it better. Nobody picks up the weirder pitches better. I'm excited to read that. I haven't read that one yet, but I'm excited to dig into that, especially because you've been getting a beat down online about it, which always makes me smile. As for myself, you can follow me. I'm on Blue Sky. It's Monagle at bluesky.social or whatever it's called. I'm going to start saying you can follow me on Instagram too. I'm going to try and do a little bit more Instagram-y kind of stuff. I think that's MR Monagle is the user handle there. I shouldn't announce. I'm going to share my social channel and then forget my handles. Great job, Matt. I do work in marketing. But most importantly, you can visit our website. Go to certifiedforgotten.com. I would encourage you to go to certifiedforgotten.com/newsletter if you want to sign up for our free weekly newsletter. You get a rundown of some thoughts from myself or Donato about the world in horror every week. And then on Fridays, we will bring our new episodes of the Certified Forgotten podcast right to your inbox. We're going to make it nice and easy. So it is a new year, it is an exciting year for horror and a terrible year for pretty much everything else. So we're going to focus on horror and we're going to have ourselves a good time. We hope you'll join us.